Yeah, it's not going to go live on. Oh, sorry. Liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for that hiccup there. Hopefully all's good. All's good. Boring conversation anyway. Hello and welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, your one-stop shop for in-depth commentary and discussion on the Star Wars book that came out today and one that came out last week. It is Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. And speaking of 16, it's the 16th week of comics in 2025. Funny how that works out. I'm Matthew, as usual, coming to you from Underworld, North in Toronto. Chris is so whenever usually both my podcast partners are kind of to the west of me. Chris slightly less to the west of me than the other one, but we'll get to in a second. But Chris is so far west that they call it the Far East. He is currently still enjoying the sights and sounds and smells and tastes of Japan in preparation for Star Wars Celebration, where presumably he will enjoy the sights and sounds, but probably not the smells and tastes. But you never know. So yeah, enjoying life there. Check out his Twitter, I guess Facebook. Sometimes we'll get to the plugs, but instead of Chris Abbott, we got my normal partner in crime from the Ion Canon podcast coming to us straight from Underworld, Irvine, California. It's our resident sequelist, Mr. Joel Davis. Joel, how's it going? Long time no see.
It's going well. I mean, I think the smells of Japan are probably nicer than the smells over here. So yeah, I would want to smell the smells and taste of Japan.
Oh yeah. Just, I mean, I'd want to go there for the food. That's my first thought of traveling to Asia. Any part of Asia is the food and the heat and the weather, but also the food. Star Wars Celebration is, we just calculated this. It actually starts 24 hours from now. You can believe that. 20 hours from now, because 24 hours from now is Japan, Friday morning in Japan. So there we go. Checking that out. Joel, it's been under 48 hours since we last chatted. Long time no see, as I said. We're talking about Jedi Knights #2 that came out last week and Legacy of Vader #3 that came out today, because comics are for Wednesdays and Wednesdays are for comics. Let's get to the plugs quickly. You can follow us, especially follow Joel on Blue Sky at Ion Canon Pod, or just Ion Canon. Bluesky.social, also Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Ion Canon Pod. If you prefer audio, it's more your speed. Right after this podcast, right after we're done recording, I will throw this up onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Search Tractor Beam Comics Reviews for that, and you'll get it for your listening pleasure there. That's Tractor Beam Comics Reviews. Also, we are proudly part of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. Yeah, keeping our eye on everything going on in Japan. Yeah, check out the flagship, what they're up to. Check out flagship socials at the SW. Check out Hannah, her channel, The Race Side, doing some nice, speaking of the sights and sounds of Japan, nice vlog, living vicariously, and keep it locked on everything going on for Celebration there. And of course, the Star Wars Underworld Discord server, and there's a minty fresh link down below in the description. Do check that out. Enjoy the conversation. Definitely, again, I'm going to keep talking about the Celebration news and or reactions, all the above. We're just talking about comic books. We're talking about everything. Novels, you just started Into the Light, Joel, so that, and then doing some events. And you had a movie night the other week, and you got any events on the way in the Discord server?
I don't think we do, because of the celebrations. I think we're going to take a little bit of a week off, maybe. But last week we did watch Rogue One for preparation for Andor Season 2. So that was a lot of fun. And we'll probably be doing some Andor watches and game nights in the following weeks.
There we go. Way to keep it going, keep the conversation going. I mean, here's an idea. If you're watching the live stream and you want, like, of Celebration or whatever, you want folks to chat with while you're watching the live stream right there in the Discord server.
Ooh, that'd be fun, and I
Yeah.
could actually do that. So that'd
Yeah.
be kind of cool.
So there we go. There's anybody like video, like voice chat or text chat or whatever you guys get up to. Yeah, because that's the thing. Those of us who are trying to do Couch Con, what can we do? We can yeah, chat with people on the internet, on the interwebs, whatever it is they end up showing us is also the question. But we'll keep it locked, keep our eyes locked, especially for our intents and purposes, the publishing panel, which I forget when that goes, but looking forward to everything coming out of Star Wars Celebration Japan in 24 hours. It's just a wild thought. Yeah, it's on the way. So there we go. And then, the announcement of Star Wars Celebration Anaheim 2027 is coming in, I guess in a number of days. So there we go. We'll figure that out. But all that to say, we have 2 comic books to review, as I mentioned. The Star Wars stories, they keep rolling along. I don't know if we'll get access to that one shot that's available at Celebration, but we'll keep you guys posted. But again, anyways, for now, there are 2 comic books to get into tonight, and we will dive right in. First off with Jedi Knights #2, written by Mark Guggenheim, art by Madabek Muzabekov, colors by Luis Guerrero, letters by VC's Clayton Cowles, and cover by Raza. Yoda and Vecna Mooncrest face the tyranny of Atha Prime. The Jedi face a new threat on a strange, fantastic, and mysterious world, but the planet's surface ruler has a dark secret he wants hidden from the Republic. The first story featuring the never-released Kenner action figure, Atha Prime. This was a really fascinating, really great dive into the second issue of this comic. Kind of gives us a sense of what it is doing in terms of this anthology of these different Jedi Knights. Issue #1 set up the whole crew, and here now Yoda and Vecna Mooncrest, this new character, going to this planet to investigate this threat. And right in the middle, right at the beginning, we're thrown into the middle of this thing of Vecna telling Yoda, we have a new problem. And just, it really, I mean, kind of, it's an interesting choice to say, yep, they're going to get into danger. Yet they're going to face a threat. Yet, yes, no, things aren't going to be as they seem. And so that thought carries us throughout. And it was an interesting, that tone, that mood carries us throughout, because they go to that farm, basically those corn stalks, and Vecna can actually sense something's wrong, right? Her implants are bugging, and really, and I think, that device of throwing them into this or throwing us into that scenario later on in the story, that quote, "Oh, Yoda, I think we have a new problem. They're surrounded by all these creatures." It raises the sense of how formidable Atha Prime is, and just how powerful is, how strong he is. And so by the time we actually see him, by the time Yoda squaring off with Atha Prime, it was a really foreboding moment. Yoda does end up escaping, end up getting away. Atha Prime follows him on this ship. And now this is the interesting thing about this issue. One of the interesting things about this issue is that ship looks like it's straight out of Legends. It looks like it's from Tales of the Jedi or something, just the design of it with the long thing, but having the main hull looking like a Star Destroyer, but bulked out on weapons there. Yeah, it feels like, even that moment of him going up the ramp there, Atha Prime going up the ramp, feels like out of Legends, and really channeling that sense from the 90s comics, and of course channeling this deep cut, which is such a reference, such a nod. Of course, the comic is called The Deepest Cut. And Joel, I'll get to let you go dive into that in a second, but just really channeling Star Wars storytelling from the past. The last thing I will say, Atha Prime, very fascinating Thanos type character, where he wants to be the one to make the cuts, like a farmer, like wanting to trim the edges of the hedge, pull the weeds out. That that image at the beginning of this farm, these cornrows, is evocative because that's what he wants to do, and he does the whataboutism with the Jedi. Is like, well, what about the Jedi? They're doing that too with their lightsabers. So yeah, formidable foe. Looking forward to. I mean, thankfully he doesn't eat it at the end. So looking forward to seeing more of Atha Prime. Joel, I'll turn this to you before you give your thoughts on the issue, and I do want to get your thoughts on it. Tell us who was Atha Prime? What's the story? What's the deal? The real world story, and if there's any kind of in-universe story to this.
Yes. So Atha Prime was an idea concocted in 1984 by Kenner Action Figures in order to hopefully continue the Star Wars franchise beyond Return of the Jedi. Right. They were looking for a big bad. Oh, could you hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Just scratching me.
Okay. They were looking for a big bad. The company had a whole pitch for Lucasfilm and an idea to push the saga forward. Mm-hmm. And this was the original Kenner, and I actually have here with me the original Kenner Action Figures pitch for Atha Prime.
This is from Wikipedia, right?
Yes, this is from Wikipedia behind the scenes.
Nice.
A powerful force, long kept in exile in a remote fringe of the galaxy, has been released by the death of the Emperor. It moves now like a plague, securing control over shattered remnants of the Empire and re-enslaving newly freed worlds. Atha Prime, genetics master, ruler of the Dark Worlds, and architect of the Clone Wars, is free again. His advanced army of combat clones has already decimated rebel outposts along the galactic frontier. His goal is to crush forever the Rebel Alliance and control the galaxy. So yes, that was the original pitch for Atha Prime. And by the way, his starship was also part of the idea. It was a double-decker Star Destroyer called the Annihilator. And there's actually a little concept art of a double-decker Star Destroyer, which looks like a Star Destroyer and then another Star Destroyer over it. So yeah, this is the idea for Atha Prime. The idea was that he was the reason why the Clone Wars happened and attacked the galaxy with the clones until the Jedi defeated him. He and Tarkin were co-conspirators back in the day. And that after Palpatine's death, he was going to come back and be the new big bad for our heroes to fight and, take care of. So he's so Legends that he's not even canon to Legends. His design was used somewhere else. And, now he's here.
Because they never even made the action figure, right?
No, it's always a concept art.
Yeah. So they got to make it now. Come on.
I hope so.
There you go. Fascinating that he's like this. So this is, of course, in 1984, before anything, before 1999, before 2002, that he is the first attempt, maybe not the first attempt, but a very early attempt at giving a story of the Clone Wars, of what Obi-Wan and the Hutt is talking about. Fought with me in the Clone Wars. Well, hey, here's an idea for what these things could be. So it's interesting that Mark Guggenheim brings him back in the timeline to before the Phantom Menace, before the Clone Wars. Obviously, we have very, very many stories, canon stories, telling us what the Clone Wars were, including 3 films, 3 George Lucas films. So clearly, he's not going to be directly involved in that. But it was an interesting choice to bring him in at this point in time, and to see if he becomes just like in this pitch from Hasbro or Kenner rather, to a character who can extend beyond into different eras and live long enough to pop up in Alex Segura's run potentially is one of the theories. Or beyond. No saying how old he is. Clearly strong in the dark side of the Force. So there you go. So what did you think of this comic book as a comic book, and then as the idea of bringing Atha Prime in?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was I liked just the atmosphere and the mood. Very creepy. His clones. They're very look like the xenomorphs from Alien movies.
Nice.
Yeah, I love seeing Yoda in action. I think it's very cool. I've been reading both these versions of the comic. It's very nice. This is kind of what I think the Jedi kind of in their prime as Lucas saw them in Phantom
Hmm.
Menace, where it's like, here's the Jedi. This is what Jedi do. They're peacekeepers. And they're supposed to be diplomatic, but it's like if they're like, if you mess with them, they'll break your kneecap like the mafia. Always brings up the mafia. But I mean that's what they do.
Yeah,
You
sure.
want to
Just
they
with
wanted
the George voice, though.
they want to negotiate,
Yeah.
but then if they don't, if you keep fighting, you're like, I'll break your kneecaps. With their lightsabers. Vroom, vroom. That was cool. Of course,
Yeah.
again seeing Atha Prime
Hmm.
already he has so much. It's amazing. It's such a short comic. He doesn't really do much, but already it's like 5 minutes in, he's a character who just has gravitas. It's like
Hmm.
he just comes in. It's like he commands the room. Last time I ever felt that way was funny enough in Ahsoka where Thrawn just shows up, and when Thrawn
Hmm.
shows up, it's like he just like all the energy. He just sucks up all the energy. It's like
Yeah.
this is like the guy in charge. A lot of that's of course to Lars Nicholson's.
Yeah.
It's Mads or Lars
Yeah.
Nicholson's
Mads Galen.
Lars Nicholson's
Yeah.
performance. And here it's just the way he's as a prime drawn and written. It just had he even had like a Vader kind of like speech bubble where it's
Yeah.
like black and white instead of white and
Sure.
black.
Was it
Um,
gray or something, right?
and he just like already like commands the room. It's like, oh yeah, he's the Dark Lord of this little world right here.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Um, I'm kind of curious. Again, I'm kind of curious, kind of what they're gonna do with him. I hope
Hmm.
he's a character that sticks around. I hope he's not just relegated to this comic and like, oh, that was surprise and that's it. Like, I hope he's a
Hmm.
character like, no, put him in other things, make him like Moment who shows up in different eras and whatnot.
Yeah.
I think he's a character who deserves to kind of, even if he gets like locked up for a little bit, then
Hmm.
you'd have him pop back up in either the post Endor era or the post sequel era if they want to do that eventually or something. Maybe
Hmm.
have him be a 3-time threat.
Yeah.
Locked
Never
up
know.
again.
Just
Um,
like Palpatine. Why not?
just like Palpatine. Like, I mean, this comic also makes me kind of wonder if like. What if depending on how big Atha Prime of a threat is, it's like does
Mm.
Palpatine have this guy on his radar? It's like is this like a person like Mother Talzin? It's like rival, gotta get him out of the way because I
Mhm.
got my own world domination plans. I can't have him doing his weird stuff.
Mhm.
And because I just don't get the vibe that Atha Prime he's a follower. I feel like Atha Prime like
Yeah.
Atha Prime worked for Atha Prime.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I like the new Jedi. I thought they were cool, and the mystery of who's gonna kill Qui-Gon, which
Yeah.
I have a theory about. We can get into later, but
Mhm.
yeah, overall, really good comic, and I've been loving the series so far.
Yeah. I mean, I almost wonder reading that because I hadn't read that description with the Clone Wars, like with Palpatine on his radar. Huh? Clones. Interesting. I wonder if that's kind of where he gets an idea from. If Mark Guggenheim is allowed to put that little tidbit in, gets the story group's permission to do that. Yeah, it was definitely again the way Mark Guggenheim used that structure of jumping us in the middle of the thing definitely gives Atha Prime this gravitas, and then you see him he's clunked down on his throne.
Mhm.
He's not moving. He doesn't need to move. He has his droid and he has his clone, his Zerexi or whatever they're called,
Mhm.
to take care of. He was gonna leave the Jedi, let the Jedi go in peace, but of course the Jedi, even the Jedi of this time, as we saw the Jedi from 100 years before,
Mhm.
constantly wanting to get their hands, the four-fingered hands into everything. And so, seeing this as a threat, wiping out these Zerexi on the planet, but then, yeah, he's zooming off with his not Snokes in jars, but other his folks in jars, his folks in
Yeah.
jars. There you go. Even the design of that chamber. This is like in the on the planet, like having this sort of
Yeah.
old school design here, like that also feels like out of Legend. Like it isn't high tech, it's more of an ancient temple. Yeah, like even that is something it feels like Legends would do, just to say this is super ancient, this is super historic. And yeah, even his mask and everything. um
He's
I
kind of
love
creepy under the mask too, when you get
Yeah.
a little see his face.
Well,
like, oh, this guy.
you're not the only one who thinks so. Like, look at Yoda. Look at his reaction. By
Yeah,
the
true.
light.
Oh, my.
By the light. Great job by Badabek and Luis on this. Like,
Mhm.
absolutely fantastic storytelling from their part.
Yeah.
You're breaking through. Even almost looks like Thanos under there. That's wild.
He's more scary than Thanos. I think he's more scary than Thanos. Thanos at least is a little doesn't have the crazy teeth and like the
Yeah,
monster.
that's true. But a similar kind of idea of someone who, I mean, sees the ills of the galaxy. This comes up in Star Wars quite a bit, actually. Even with Kira, with Anakin, right?
Mhm.
He's saying in his immature thing with Padme, being like, let's just have a form of government where we can make everyone do the right thing.
You know who
Good
reminds me
luck.
of more than Thanos?
Yeah.
Did you see Guardians of the Galaxy 3?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He reminds me more of that villain. What's his name? The Guardians.
Adam Warlock.
No. The Guardians 3 villain. The high evolutionary.
Yeah, the High Evolutionary. Yeah.
He's also in the genetic thing, so it's like kind of that mad scientist kind of vibe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't remember the one who monkeyed with Rocket.
Yeah.
Raccooned with Rocket. There we go. Yeah, I mean, all of these sort of, folks. It's just an interesting concept where, because maybe the thing he thinks is an ill of the galaxy
Mhm.
is something actually truly evil, like corruption, like consolidation of power. Ironically enough, of course, Palpatine's the one to say, "I'm going to root out corruption. I'm going to restore peace and freedom to the galaxy."
Mhm.
Remember that moment at the Phantom Menace screening last year, where someone's waiting on that moment to shout out in the crowd, shout out "liar."
Yeah.
So yeah, very fascinating. You mentioned the kind of the tag at the epilogue with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon,
Mhm.
and I was a little confused by this. I thought, because Qui-Gon, the big reveal is, I've never seen this person in my life. And yet, isn't he the guy who just attacked you on this planet? I guess he hadn't seen him in the mask or something. But yeah, Obi-Wan continuing to talk about this vision that he had in the first issue of somebody stabbing Qui-Gon through the chest. Of course, we know who that is. We know when. Again, we know that's Maul.
Well, actually, I have a theory about this.
But
as
yeah,
well.
you have a theory. Go ahead.
I actually think this guy is going to stab Qui-Gon through the chest, but I
Okay.
think it's going to be a kind of not what you think kind of twist, where it's like it happens,
Mhm.
but like there's a lot of context around it where Qui-Gon actually gets to live.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's like leads to Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon into almost a false sense of security. So when it happens again, it's like, oh shoot, this time it's for reals.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's the kind of thing probably Mark Guggenheim is thinking about. How does this tie into Phantom Menace? How does this make us look at Phantom Menace a bit differently? A little bit. I don't know if that's entirely what he's going for here, but maybe with that storyline, yeah, I can see that. Maybe it's faked and it's planned, but Obi-Wan needs to learn how to interpret these, like we talked about on Monday, interpret these prophecies and what they mean, not for the future but for the present and whatnot. So yeah, great second issue. Looking forward to this, seeing how this comic holds together as an anthology. Hyperspace Stories, Chris and I have talked about this with Hyperspace Stories, was the All Ages anthology that didn't really hold together and didn't try to as an anthology. Let's see if this feels like a unified comic book. I will say Age of Republic is an anthology, pure and simple. The Age of our comics, all three of them. Jody Hauser does such a fantastic job with each of them, these self-contained stories, that it does feel like the unified comic. So just saying a unified anthology like Clone Wars. So yeah, it can work. You have anything more to say about this one before we move on?
I guess I got my hype is kind of for Atha Prime again. Is he gonna come back? Is he an overarching baddie?
Mhm.
I feel like this isn't just a character you bring in for one thing and like, okay, we're done with him.
Yeah.
Like this kind of feels like something you go at least for a good chunk of the comic.
Mm.
I do wonder if since I do think does seem like a anthology with an overarching plot to it,
Mhm.
I do wonder how what he's doing is going to affect the other stories or not moving
Right.
forward. I wonder if we'll come back to certain arcs, like it's like next week is Kiadi Mundi and Mace
Yeah.
Windu, and then 3 issues later we're going back to Yoda and Atha Prime, right? Or I'm kind of curious how that is all going to work. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited. And I'm curious if we'll get any hints to like the Phantom Menace happening. Like we're gonna find out what Sidious and Newt Gunray are up to during this
Yeah.
time.
Again, maybe that's why they bring in Atha Prime with the clone thing. Yeah, at the very least, yeah, you're right. He seems too big, and this seems too much of a cliffhanger, just of him going off with the folks in the jar. I'm going to call them that now. The folks in the jar, the Zerexi, on his ship to say, okay, this is a threat they still need to deal with somehow. Fascinating tease next for the next issue. It's gonna be all spot. It's gonna be Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. They're picking that up. Number 3. All splash pages, all action. The most unusual Jedi Knight's tale ever told. I'm really curious. I wonder if that's going to feel like that Peach Momoko Visions, where there was just no dialogue. I don't know if you read that one, but that was the most different Star Wars comic. It is completely without dialogue. It was entirely told visually. Yeah, I'm curious. Looking forward to whatever that is. Of course, the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. So why not? All right, let's go from my favorite era to your favorite era. What's why we brought you in to be the resident sequelist here with Legacy of Vader #3. This is written by the great Charles Soule, art by the great Luke Ross, colors by Nolan Woodard, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna, and cover by Derek Chu. Kylo Ren, prisoner on Tatooine. Kylo Ren has been imprisoned by the ruthless Gardulla the Hutt. The young tyrant must survive the harsh conditions of his grandfather Darth Vader's homeworld. And who is the mysterious Force user in Gardulla's employ? I'll throw this to you while I take a yawn and a sip. What do you think of Legacy of Vader #3?
I thought it was fun. I had a lot of good moments in it, but I also have to say I felt a little rushed in the end because it's like, we have the moments of Kylo getting chained and tortured, and that was pretty harsh. Like, oh my. But then it's like by the end, it's like we don't even see what happens to Gardulla and the Rock guy. They just sort of disappear or maybe die. I don't know. It's just sort of like if he escapes, he gets his dragon skin, he gets the First Order, and then it's like, well, off to Naboo, which I'm excited for. But it's like, what happened to Gardulla and the Rock guy? We don't even know who the Rock guy is. By the end, it's like, are they even alive? What happened in that castle? So it's like, what's going on? I feel like we missed a few pages or something. It was cool seeing a Vader vision. That was pretty epic. Vader just completely dismisses Kylo. It's like, oh, and I'm curious to wonder like how much of that is real. What's just Kylo's brain? Is it the Force being weird? Is it the Emperor being weird? And who knows? So that I wonder. But yeah, I thought it was fun, and I'm definitely still excited for the next issue.
Yeah, it was it was a bit of the head scratcher in terms of that Rock character. I hope they're not done. I hope they're not dead. Although, with Vane messaging him saying, "Oh, I feared the worst," when there's everything got taken out at the castle there. I gotta say though, as a Kylo Ren story, this was fantastic. This was showing us specifically what this comic is going to do and going to be as a Kylo Ren story that taps into the Vader mythos. And even with a nod to the 2017 run and everything that Vader has to learn about the dark side, Kylo Ren has to learn about it. Odd how he hadn't learned about the last 6 years, but I guess Snoke wasn't taking him seriously enough. I mean, neither was Palpatine. Palpatine was just taking himself seriously enough. And Kylo Ren was just the apprentice to not even a Sith. I really loved that vision, especially because I do think what I think is it's Vane definitely having a say here. I mean, that's he asked him, did you learn what you needed to learn about your own power? Remember, Vane was in cahoots with Gardulla to bring him there, so he wanted to learn something. And the thing he learns is through this vision, right? He's in chains. Gardula is telling him to obey. He's trying to negotiate his way out. Yeah, he has this vision of saying, "Grandfather, help me." I don't know if Vader dismisses him. I think he's part of the lesson, and oddly enough, not in the same way as Ahsoka, in the show.
Same sort of kick in the pants, though.
Yeah, same kind of kick in the pants there. That's true. In the sense of, I mean, Ahsoka needs to learn. I mean, Anakin's teaching her about the light side.
Mhm.
Here, Vader, I think, is teaching him just what the dark side is about. Everything that makes me magnificent, I did by myself. I did alone. And it really, the scenario that Kylo Ren is in and goes through really got me thinking, oh, okay, this is he's learning about the Sith Code here. By my power, by the Force, my chains are broken. And he literally does it, right? His defiance of Gardula, he's able to channel that. Like he leaves the vision, he says, "Say it." He wants her to taunt him. He wants her to goad him, to build up this rage and this anger of saying, "No, I will not obey. I'm tapping into the dark side." And what a character beat. I mean, it shows. Obviously, we don't want to enjoy the dark side too much, but it shows, just how spectacular it can be. Spectacular that moment can be. Kind of like how we're going to see, like we were talking with Adam Christopher's Master of Evil, similar type of self-empowerment journey, if I can use that term. Here it's with Kylo Ren, and the blue lightning. Yeah, it's coming from the torture chamber, but it's evocative of Kylo Ren tapping into the dark side. And then you have that awesome moment where once he's ordering the orbital bombardment of the palace, he just says no quietly. He said, "No, I will not obey." So I don't know. I hope Gardula hasn't eaten it. I hope the Rock guy. I think this is going to be a long run. It's an ongoing run. So I think they're going to come back. Charles Soule knows what he's doing in terms of introducing characters and setting up mystery. He is the master of setup and payoff. So I'm not too worried. Again, it was a bit of a head scratcher, but why continue to delay this reveal? But it's a good reason. I mean, the reason is because it has to focus on this Kylo Ren character beat of what he's learning from Vader's story that he can incorporate in his own life. And so I love that it was a Kylo Ren story so clearly and so strongly. It didn't get distracted by, oh, that's neat, that's Watto, oh, that's neat, that's this thing that happened. And next month we'll see where that goes. But I don't know if you have any thoughts in kind of responsible, like what for Kylo Ren's story in this comic book.
Yeah, I mean, first off, the fact they didn't show even Gardula getting sliced by Kylo, that might be the indicator. I mean, I've always been storytelling 101 has always been for me, no body, no death.
Well, in Star Wars especially.
Yeah, Star Wars especially.
Yeah.
That just seems like doesn't seem like an oversight Charles Soule would do that much, unless he says something later on and I just don't know it. Maybe he'll say something next. Maybe he'll say something after this episode, and I'll find out later about Gardula. I'll have to check his blue sky. But no, I do think it's interesting. Yeah, you're right about the chains being broken, and Kylo kind of tapping into the dark side a little bit more than maybe he has during his tutelage with Snoke when he was all conflicted or whatnot. I mean, he still is to a large extent. This is trying to really figure out, I do wonder if well, see, that's the thing, because he's going to redeem himself so quickly years in. So it's like he's either going to get more dark side or just more uncertain about all of it.
True.
So, there's that. I like the moment where he orders the bombardment and Hux is just like, oh, we don't question the Supreme Leader. We bombard the castle anyway. In there, well, we don't question him. So if he dies, he dies. Oh, well.
I mean, that would have worked in Hux's favor.
Right.
What's the kills? Yeah.
I mean, maybe Vinay knew that he escaped and warned Guardiola, "Hey, he's coming, get out of there."
Yeah.
So Renee's already on the boo, so I have a feeling like he had a good gut reaction of like, "Oh, he's probably alive."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I liked all of it.
Yeah. It was really, really well written. Yet another comic where I read and I forget I'm reading a comic. I'm just in a story. I'm not even thinking of the medium or anything. I'm just so engrossed. And it happens. I gotta say, I know this sounds gushy. Charles isn't paying me a cent or anything like this to say this, but it happens with his comics a lot. He just has a way of guiding our reading, and that's also Luke Ross, his legendary work. Nolan Wood are just guiding our eye, guiding our sense of pacing and movement. And yeah, where it does slow down to focus on the smirk of Kylo's smirk of saying, yes, I'm about to break my chains here. In this, this thing of, I'm feeling lots of pain, but it's actually empowering me, just like Vader's suit did, right?
Right. I do love the beginning when he's bargaining and he's like, "I am the supreme leader of the First Order," and it's like, kid, no one cares about that.
Yeah.
Like it shows A, just how much the First Order is not the Empire, and B, you're not Darth Vader, kid. You're just a kid playing pretend.
I mean, that's the interesting thing. He's at that point, he's still banking on the First Order, his position in the First Order being the source of his power. Whereas for Palpatine and Vader, the Empire wasn't their source of their power. It was just the expression of it.
Right.
And that's the switch we see, I think, happen in this comic book for Kylo Ren. I mean, the thing where the montage, the escape montage comes in, and he has he fights that great dragon thing and gets the skin and contacts the First Order. I mean, all that. Yeah, it's also him finding his resourcefulness, his survival skills, if you will. So, again, this is a dark side book, but always fun to have dark side heroes. Look, just exploring what they are, what they do. You bring up an interesting point, just thinking about Rise of Skywalker, right? That if Jedi Knights may or may not have anything to do with leading towards Phantom Menace, Legacy of Vader has everything, not everything, a whole heck of a lot to deal with, leading towards Rise of Skywalker. And that turn, he has just broken the chains of Snoke. He is building up this sense of a sense of self, sense of don't need to succumb or obey anyone or anything, or that obedience can be earned. I mean, I wish he had lived after this movie, but just to see what that looks like. But to say, I mean, he ends up supporting Rey's mission. He ends up almost obeying her and coming alongside her. And so that in itself as a way of breaking his chains, right? Breaking the chains of the dark side and breaking the chains of Palpatine's plan. Because his father was kind of like that, right? I mean, that's the thing. Han played fast and loose with the rules. He did the Kessel run in probably closer to 13 parsecs, but that was risking it, again, but it was always ultimately for the greater good of the galaxy and with other people, and to be with other people. And that's the thing. I mean, to ends up giving the coaxium to the Cloud Riders, right? All that, and of course end up saving Luke in the end. So, or the end of A New Hope. So that's the thing, and that's the fascinating thing of he has too much of his father in him, of being defiant and almost proud in a way that enables him to actually do good for others in the end, at the end of the day, even saving Rey. So
I wonder, just when he thinks he found himself, something's gonna break and shatter, and he's gonna start all over again. I wonder if there'll be almost some intentional 3 steps forward, and then a big step back, in terms of we finally think he's finally found his path. Oh, nope, retrench, right?
Mhm.
I mean, in some way, that's sort of what the beginning of Rise of Skywalker is. Kylo Ren,
Mhm.
supreme leader of the First Order, about to
Mhm.
take on the galaxy, and then all of a sudden, wait, a message from the Emperor? He's alive. That's the most evil being, the most powerful being in the galaxy is alive. Hey, wait a minute. That can't be right. And then
Yeah.
that kind of freaks Kylo out. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Is that bigger fish?
There's someone trying to usurp me. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, the ultimate biggest fish of them all.
Yeah.
As a zombie.
True.
So I wonder about that.
I mean, even the end of Force Awakens, right? Going into the Last Jedi, there's this moment he kills Han as this attempt to break his chains, right?
Mhm.
That's the thing a Darksider has to do, is this
Mhm.
horrible atrocity, or horrible, really turning away from the people who can love and care for him, because that's supposedly weakness.
Mhm.
And then the next thing he knows, he's kneeling before Snoke,
Mhm.
who berates him for having too much of his father in him, right? It split you to the bone.
Right.
Remember, that's within, I don't know, a day. It's the same day, maybe, or a few days apart.
Just a few days apart.
Yeah, and so, or whatever. So that kind of, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Yeah, the elusiveness of this whole breaking your chains. Because the restlessness of it, and maybe that's also what happens with Ray, is in the end he's finally able to rest and let go. So already, I mean, that's the thing, already giving us things to think about with this film that was complicated, and whenever we're bringing that up, it's complicated. But yeah, Charles Soule giving us things to think about, things to appreciate about this film, that I think he's thought of it too. So any last thoughts on Legacy of Vader #3?
We're going to Naboo. That's going to be
That's right.
exciting. We're going to Padme's planet and Palpatine's planet. I bet Hux is excited for that.
Yes.
I'm curious what Naboo even is like at this point in the sequel era. It's like, is it under First Order rule? Does it have its starfighters? Are they defiant? Are they complacent? I'm curious just the state of Naboo at this point. And I'm kind of curious what Kylo has to learn on Naboo.
Yeah.
That's gonna be part of the whole journey.
Gonna learn about grandma, which is, again, something we've wanted for a while, but never
Our
really.
great grandma and great grandpa still alive, or Padme's parents?
I know. Yeah, well, where are the Nabberries? There's the Brian Young question. Yeah, you're right. We haven't seen Naboo in this era. The closest we've gotten is when his mom Leia happens to have Padme's wardrobe.
No, we see it in Battlefront 2. That's post Jedi.
Yeah, but that's still not this era. That's still the original trilogy era. This is the sequel era. I mean, the closest is when Leia is on Kid and Nemoidia. This is in Charles Soule's Poe Dameron comic. Leia's in Kid and Nemoidia and happens to have Padme's wardrobe. For some reason, I don't know how she got it. Probably because, hey, I want my mother's clothes. Why not? My birth mother's clothes. So yeah, that lots of different questions. The planter there on the balcony, it's withered. Who knows what kind of, maybe kind of in neglect, because after the Empire, and then who knows what the New Republic was able to do with it. But yeah, now with the First Order, see, it hasn't gotten the attention it deserves. Further on, I mean, it gets the attention in the fandom, but in stories, again, Battlefront 2 and Shattered Empire, we get that moment, and that was cool. But I want to see more. I want to see more about Naboo. Interesting, another Legends reference here. The blurb says the Kylo Ren must battle against Storg Varuna and his raiders. And there's a cut, because of course James Luceno's Darth Plagueis novel, the King of Naboo, is Ars Varuna, and he's quite a shady character himself.
How the Varunas have fallen.
Yes,
must have fallen from hard times.
Now they got a bunch of raiders, and then this question: who will rule Naboo when all is said and done? We have seen Naboo. We saw Naboo in Greg Pak's Vader comic. We've seen it Yeah, that's the most recent I think we've seen. Well, I can imagine we'll see it in Master of Evil. That seems like a good shot. But yeah, there we go. There's just the production meeting. There's a good Iron Cannon episode one time. Naboo, all about Naboo. We got to do that. There we go. Yeah. So looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that. Again, how much of this is going to be? Oh wow, Padme, Naboo, everything going on there, which is great, and I love that. But we always got to remember this is also a Kylo Ren comic. How much of it is angled towards Kylo Ren's story? And so, as much as I want to know everything about Naboo, I'm gonna keep my mind on and I think readers should keep their mind on what does this mean for Ben Solo? What does this mean for Kylo Ren? To explore this side of him. Are there going to be probably references to the Greg Pak comic? I'd imagine. I wouldn't be surprised, at least, because everything with Sabe and everything there that happens. So I'm guessing you're looking forward to that too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to what Kylo is going to find at the lake house.
Yeah.
That's the lake house, right? That's the place.
I believe so. Yeah, there's a specific name. I forget what Vane says. Come to this place. The Kylo Ren should know what it is, I guess. There you go. All right. Any last thoughts on this one?
No. A little bit of a head scratcher. Why kind of Gardula and Rock Guy or person kind of just vanished from the story very quickly. It's a little weird.
I think they'll be back.
I hope so.
I think they'll be back.
I think so too. I mean, they didn't show what happened to them, so maybe Vinay's got some contacts or something's going on.
Sure.
But I'm curious to see also if Hux and Kylo get another scene, because now he's back on the ship. People probably talk to one another.
How's the throne going?
How's the throne? How's the conquest of the galaxy going?
How's the conquest of the galaxy going? How's your construction project going?
Yeah, the throne. That's what matters.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Keep it up.
There we go. Yeah, looking forward to. There we go. Next week, probably because of Celebration, there aren't any new books coming out next Wednesday. There is a book coming out again, like I said, on the floor of Celebration is an exclusive that I forget what it's called, but the VR tie into the VR headset game.
Nice.
Hopefully we can get our hands on that and read what it's about. But depending on how Chris's jet lag is, we'll either do a Celebration recap, talk about Andor, or take a break. We'll see. Easter weekend there, the week after Easter. Nice to take it easy. Week after Celebration. So we'll see. We'll keep everyone updated on the interwebs and on Discord, etc. But yeah, in the meantime, Joel, thanks for coming out. Always a pleasure to chat. Twice in 1 week. There we go. With the Iron Cannon crew. Speaking of the internet, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at GID20234 on Blue Sky, GID20234 on Blue Sky. Of course, I am in charge of the Ion Cannon Pod Blue Sky, ioncannon.bluesky social. And of course, always on the Star Wars Underworld Discord. You can follow me, talk to me, all sorts of fun stuff.
There we go. You can follow me Instagram, MNEUG1138, Twitter, still on the Bird app, NEUG485. Also, Threads and Blue Sky. I'm also MNEUG1138. Check me out there at beaches.foodie. Haven't posted in a bit, but we'll see. Keep it locked on Iron Cannon socials, on SWU socials for everything going on in Celebration, at the race side as well, and at Star Raptor, STARRAPTER. Check youtube.com/StarRaptor for everything Chris is up to, and Twitter at Star Raptor. Check that out as well. Again, check out Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That's what I'm getting at. If you prefer audio. And then this Monday, I'm taking a break on Monday. But Joel, what are you guys talking about? Hopefully,
I'm going to be joined by my good friend Red Leader Antilles to talk about Star Wars X-Wing: The Phantom Affair. So join us for some Legends look back.
There we go. That's the Iron Cannon podcast right here on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel and Twitch and Underworld Facebook. Hopefully, yes. Monday 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. I forgot to mention. We got super chats. We got YouTube memberships here on the channel. Please do check that out as well. We're grateful for any support you can provide. But yeah, please do also check out the Discord, everything going on with Celebration. And then hopefully back here next week, we will see, Star Wars Celebration recap and or day later reaction. No new books. Looks like a show we might have. I don't know, Joel, if you're free. We'll see.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, let's call it. Let's say we'll do that next week. Same Gundark time, same Gundark channel. But until then, happy celebrating.